So I always like to know what it is you would like to hear from me in these videos. So before we go any further in this, if there are videos you want to see or questions you have, do put them in the comments below because I read them and then I can make them. And this video here is a comment which came from the Facebook group, and it was, what information do clients give you before a shoot? And I thought it was an interesting question because how on earth would you know if you haven't done a big shoot? And this was specifically for big shoots. So I'm going to give you some examples. But first of all, there are a few things I cannot do. I cannot tell you which client told me what. I cannot show you what a client showed me because it's all covered under copyright laws. The creative brief from the ad agency, it belongs to the ad agency. The client's details, they're private. One of the big problems with this is, although I want to share as much as I can on this YouTube channel, because when I was starting out photography, it was very hard for me to find any of this information. Part of the reason for that is because of the legalities of it. I can't show you commercial work that I've shot if I'm making money off it from a different company. So I have Scotch Casino over here, Tin House Studios. If an ad campaign I shot here goes into my Tin House Studios company and goes into YouTube and makes me money, that's not okay. And then also with all the contracts I sign, I cannot disclose information. So what I'm going to do is give you some hypotheticals and some examples of verbally what you might receive, from the ludicrously detailed to the I have no idea what you're talking about. So let's start with the ludicrously detailed. So a shoot we did maybe 3 years ago. It came with a 3-inch pack of how to shoot it. And this is where you really become the technician, I suppose, rather than the artist. And the whole shoot, it was incredibly technically perfect. It was incredibly clean, and it was my style of work. A lot of it was very much like what I would have done naturally. But it had a lot of detail in there. It said we had to shoot on a Canon 5D Mark III. We had to shoot on a 70-200 or a 100mm Canon L Prime. They were givens. We had to use ProPhoto lighting with the following modifiers. We had the angle of the camera dictated. We had the light placement dictated, the camera settings. We had a color grade pre-designed for us to go into Capture One. And we had a post-production pamphlet yay thick. And the reason for this is because somebody else around the world in different countries had shot different parts of this big brand's ad campaign. So the French shoot had been done, the Spanish shoot had been done, the American shoot had been done, and ours had to match the aesthetic exactly. There was no room for creativity, there was no room for changes. It was very much a, we've done this and we need it to look exactly the same, and you need to do that for us. And that is a sort of a high-end detail of like, this is exactly what we need. Please do this. Now, somewhere in the middle of this, during lockdown, we shot a reasonably big campaign, actually, considering it was during lockdown. And we shot it from the studio because, well, my partner's a food stylist and we live together, so that's useful. Anyway, this shoot was very much drawn out in terms of there was a digital photograph where they'd photoshopped all the different elements in place. Now, unlike the previous one, which gave us all the text and all the technical details, what this client had done was drawn the picture and gone, make it a photograph. Now, this is particularly hard. Again, this is technician territory. This is where you have to know your stuff. So we had items at different height, both in focus, but also without any distortion. And there was movement between items. There was a lot going on. It was an incredibly technical shoot to work out. And leading up to it, I had to spend a day before the job actually trying to figure out how on earth I was going to do it, because physics said no, which is never a great start. But Photoshop said yes. So there was a lot of work with a retoucher on site. So we had the Digitech and the retoucher, and the Digitech was forwarding assets to the retoucher so we could check they all fit in place in this ridiculous stack of images. Before we sent it to the client, so we can't fix it afterwards if it doesn't make sense. And when you've got depth from top to bottom, there's a flat lay, and you've got composites, and the lenses we had to use are very specific with zero distortion and pin cushioning. The camera settings were very specific. The lighting had to be, obviously we had to use like Broncolor lighting with Scoro packs because it had to be perfect in every single frame so that when we merged it all together, you couldn't see it was merged. It was incredibly tricky. Now, working back from that a bit further, we've recently had a shoot from a client where they just said, here is what we've done before with other photographers. We'd like you to do something similar. Here's the new product. We need 8 shots. Now, this is a much more creative brief, and with it comes problems. So those first two, If you can't do what they're asked, you're in trouble. But as long as you can follow the guidance and the rules and all the rest of it, you're golden. All you have to do is paint by numbers almost. Yes, there's a lot of technical knowledge which you need and ability to understand brief and translate it to image, but you know you're getting what they want. There's no surprise for either parties. Whereas this particular, here's what we need, here's what we've done before. So you look at the style guide and you go, right, please be some cohesion between previous photographers. And you look at it and you go, oh yes, they've all lit left to right. Oh, they've all used hard light. Okay, we're starting to get something where we can go from do anything to here's some things we could do. And then within that, we had to narrow it down to what we were going to do and make sure we hit all things. And then we had the client, this was still during COVID days actually, so we had them remote accessing in, seeing the images. And of course, when they go, that's not quite what we want, because there isn't a really detailed brief, it's now my job to kind of work out, okay, right, what is it that you don't think this is that you do want? So I can take that element away and add more of what you do want and try and work out where we are there. And that's sort of at the more broader end of a bit of creativity involved. And I enjoy doing those shoots, and I often put them without the actual advert onto my commercial website. So if you see an image and it looks very much like it's of a product, but the product branding's not there, that's an advert I've shot for someone like that. Now at the very far end of other things going on, we have the truly fill your boots with creativity client brief, which is, can you do a shoot for our new product? We want your style. Now these come through very rarely because high-end clients do not let this sort of thing be left to chance. By the time it comes to a photographer, it has gone through so first of all, let's just look at the hierarchy here. There's the brand. The brand has their marketing team who work out what they want. They then go to tender and get 3 ad agencies to pitch what they think they should do and the budget. They then choose the ad agency. That ad agency then creates through research, and they will literally bring people in and do polls and all the rest of it to work out what they think will be best. A lot of money and time has gone into it by the time it comes to me, the photographer, the person who's going to finalize the advert. They don't want my creative input. Now, what they do want, though, creatively, is for me to say when it looks good and to make sure it does look good. I'm the icing on the cake of the whole process. There's a lot of work that's gone in before it comes to me. It's my job to go, no, we shouldn't tear the baguette. We should leave it whole. It's my job to say, I think slightly lower down with a slightly more extreme angle will look a bit more graphic, or we've gone too extreme, whatever it may be. It's my job to have that input from a photographic standpoint, not from a concept standpoint. It's very rare, but sometimes you do get a smaller client come along with a reasonable budget who just goes, we want you involved in the creative process. Here's what we need. Let's get a shot list together between us and let's work on that. It is more common at the beginning of your career, far less common at the current point of my career, which is why I do test shoots. That's when I get to flex my creativity. And it's also, it sounds ridiculous, but I work so I can test shoot. So every time I do a big job, I look at it as right, I've now got 12 months of money to be able to do whatever I want creatively, and not have to worry about bills and all the rest of it. That's how my brain works. It's not how everyone's brain works. Everyone's different, but that's, every time I get a big paycheck from a big job, I'm like, how long does this afford me not to work? Now, of course, I still work in between that. And a lot of that is going, right, let's top it up. But it lets me fund the test shoots. It lets me go, right, let's get some stylists in. Let's get some set design. Let's do something cool that I love and I enjoy. And yeah, that's how I work as a photographer. And of course, that's not for everybody. But I think that's pretty much the gamut of what people may give you up front from a shoot, from literally telling you what camera settings and editing process to use, right down to just going, yeah, make pretty pictures, be good. But yeah, if you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments below and I will try my best to answer them. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.